Hey, what's happening guys, Chris here, and welcome to another Battlefield 1 weapon guide. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the P08 Artillery, which is essentially the P08 pistol's younger, beefed up brother, which can be found under both the tanker and pilot classes. The P08 Artillery model, aka the LP08, is basically that very same iconic German Luger pistol we all know, but with a few slight alterations, such as a rear tangent sight, fully adjustable for up to 800 meters, which is probably a bit optimistic for a short range weapon, a wooden shoulder stock for additional support and stability when firing, and a longer 8-inch barrel, twice the length as the standard pistol's barrel. And this is why the Germans would have referred to it as the Lange Pistol 08, standing for Long Pistol of 1908 in English. And with these changes to the standard P08, it basically transformed the handgun into a pistol carbine, one of the first personal defense weapons for its time. The Artillery Luger was chambered to fire the 9mm Parabellum cartridge, just like the standard P08 was. Though because it was designed as an early PDW as opposed to a sidearm, some of the guns were equipped with the extended 32 round Trommel magazine 08, the very same snail drum magazine which would later be used by the Bergmann MP18 submachine gun, which can also be found in the game. The wooden shoulder stock fitted firmly to the back of the Artillery Luger's grip had a few holes in it, allowing a leather holster to be strapped onto the side, which would have acted as a place to put the dismounted pistol after removing it from the stock when it wasn't being used. So with semi-automatic pistols becoming more popular at the end of the 19th century, it was only a matter of time before weapon manufacturers started to toy with the idea of adding stocks and longer barrels to their already existing handguns, to create more effective killing machines in the form of the pistol carbine. Although the concept seemed pretty cool, these weapons weren't exactly what the military really needed, as rifles seemed like a better bet as a primary weapon, having an extra range advantage, and handguns fit the bill fine enough as a last resort secondary weapon, and the pistol carbines just sort of sat around in the middle of the two, without any sort of standout purpose. However, field artillery crews working around artillery installations and machine gun nests requested for a pistol carbine weapon to be produced for them, as they needed a trusty, reliable gun which would protect them from attacking hostile forces, particularly from cavalry troops who would just rush in and wreak havoc via horseback. The Lange Pistol 08 was first put into production in 1913 for these artillery crews, hence why it's often referred to as the artillery model. Though because the weapon was so adaptable to different roles within the military, they were also issued to other soldiers who only required a shorter range self-defense weapon instead of a rifle. Some of these troops included aviation units, as the Artillery Luger could have been an effective gun for damaging planes. But probably one of the most important uses of the LP08 was when they were placed into the hands of the heavily armoured elite stormtroops on the Western Front, in the final stages of the Great War, who had the main objective to raid the enemy position with brute force. This is where the true brutality of the pistol carbine was properly realised, as the Artillery Lugers, armed with 32 round magazines, would have been very effective for trench combat and infiltrating hostile territory, being able to lay down heavy fire in close quarters. So anyway, let's talk about the P08 Artillery in Battlefield 1. The gun's going to deal a maximum damage of 30 up to the range of 14 meters, which will then start to drop down gradually over distance to its minimum damage figure of 15 beyond 39 meters. Because you're essentially firing the exact same 9mm round as the P08 pistol, this also means that you're going to dish out the exact same damage. So the gun's capable of killing an enemy in the same amount of bullets, 4 at those closer ranges and 7 further away. Though the biggest difference here regarding the weapon's overall power comes from the fact that the artillery model has that longer barrel, which is going to extend the gun's range by 6 meters. So where the pistol's damage would have dropped off earlier, bumping it up to a 5 bullet kill beyond 16 meters, the artillery can hold on to a 4 bullet kill a tad longer, making it a more powerful gun to use against opponents at mid ranges than the pistol. When compared with the other pistol carbines in the game, these damage figures are pretty similar to the likes of the C96 carbine, which can kill in the same amount of bullets over all distances, even though it has a slightly lower maximum damage of 28. But the main difference here between the two is the fact that the P08 Artillery can kill in 2 headshots up close, whereas the C96 carbine won't be able to. In regards to the M1911 Extended, although it's got a much higher damage output in close quarters, it's also got a much more sudden range drop off to go with it, which results in the P08 Artillery actually being the stronger weapon of the two, beyond 16 meters. With the gun firing at a fairly average speed of 300 RPM, the same as the P08 pistol, it doesn't really stand out very much as far as statistics go. The C96 carbine and the M1911 extended both mirror this 300 RPM rate of fire, and with the MLE 1903 extended firing a little bit quicker, and the Piper M1893 firing a tad slower, this kinda puts the P08 Artillery somewhere in the middle. But down to its damage model not being particularly very brilliant either, this gives the gun a fairly crappy time to kill in CQC, where it can be outgunned by quite a few of the other pilot weapons like the From a Stop Auto, Sawn-Off Shotgun, M1911 Extended, and the MLE 1903 Extended. Though with that said, it's generally going to be more effective than most of those weapons against opponents further away. The P08 Artillery's got a muzzle velocity of 370 meters per second, so it's slightly higher than the standard pistol, making it a bit easier to hit targets at medium ranges, though it's still not quite as fast as the C96 carbine or the Piper. Being a bulkier weapon than the standard sidearm variant, that's going to reflect on the artillery's deploy time a bit, as you'll be able to draw the gun out in 0.7 seconds instead of 0.5. So the pistol's still going to be a slightly more mobile choice to whip out and switch over to. Taking a look at that recoil pattern, the P08 Artillery's kick has become slightly improved with the addition of that stock, as it's got a vertical figure of 1.4 and a horizontal figure of 0.4. So it's not exactly going to be a lot easier to actually control, as that upwards value hasn't really changed very much at all, with only a 7% reduction to that vertical kick over the pistol. Though because its horizontal recoil is 20% lower, this is going to make it a much more accurate weapon as a whole, as shots are less likely to drift off target as you fire away. This is complemented nicely by a lower ADS spread while standing still too, though it's best to know that the normal P08 pistol is going to be a lot more accurate when hip fired than the carbine, with it having a much lower spread whilst firing from the hip. When compared with some of the other similar tanker pilot weapons, the Luger Artillery generally has a higher amount of recoil than both the C96 carbine and the MLE 1903 Extended, though it's still going to beat the M1911 Extended in this department, with it having much higher recoil figures still. It should be easy enough to take on most targets within those closer to medium ranges, though you might have a bit more trouble landing shots on enemy players running around in the distance. Now so far, the gun probably doesn't really sound very special, but this is the part where we get to see the P08 Artillery's strongest factor. Because it utilises those 32 round snail drum magazines, just like the MP18, you're going to have loads of ammunition available per reload. And because you can carry an extra round in the chamber, bumping its ammo capacity up to 33 rounds in total, you'll never really have to worry about hearing that dreaded click from an empty magazine. In close quarters, you've practically got enough ammo to take on up to 8 people one after the other without the need to reload. So if you get yourself into a good flanking position behind a squad of enemies, you'll have plenty of ammo to wipe them all out, if you're quick enough. Not only can the gun hold the most ammo out of all of the other pistol carbines, but it's also got a pretty generous reload time too, almost matching up with the M1911 Extended, with full reloads taking 2.6 seconds and a tactical reload only taking 1.7 seconds, which is faster than most of the other weapons which tankers and pilots can equip. It's not quite as rapid as the P08 pistol, with that reloading a teeny bit quicker, but the fact that your magazine is 267% bigger kinda makes up for it. So in conclusion, the P08 Artillery is basically the good all-rounder weapon of the pistol carbines, as it's not particularly very strong or fast, and it plays out in the same sort of way for the carbine guns that the standard P08 pistol does for the secondary weapons, as it's not exactly the most effective killing machine, especially in CQC where it tends to be less successful, but it does have its specific advantages, making it a decent weapon for most general gunfights. Of course, the main benefit with using the gun will most likely be down to it utilising those 32 round magazines, along with it having a fairly snappy reload time too. You'll hardly ever need to worry about getting caught with your pants down in the middle of a chaotic firefight, as you'll have more than enough ammunition to get the job done most of the time. With all that said, it's not the most accurate weapon, with quite a few of the other pistol carbines having lower recoil patterns and a smaller amount of spread, combined with the fact that it's not really got a breathtakingly good amount of stopping power either, making it a slightly less reliable choice for taking down some enemies. but the fact that its stats aren't massively worse than the other guns, and it's still capable of killing in a similar sort of time to the C96 carbine, makes the P08 Artillery a fairly safe bet to pick, as you don't really need to worry about the gun being particularly weak at medium ranges, like with some of the other pilot weapons, and you're almost always going to have enough ammo to see you through the fight. But anyway, that's it for another one guys. Hope you enjoyed the guide, hit that like button if you did, and subscribe for loads more content coming soon. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next episode.